I'm embarrassed to say I've never seen that movie. Can you believe it? I think I should see it now just because of that song. It's sweet. And I got to tell you, the way, you had the words and you led us through that. It's hard to sing Beatles songs. And you led us really well. Beatles songs are some of the hardest songs to sing. So, yeah, it's good. Just a little review. I'm going to let's see. The first talk I gave about grace, I talked about good, that there's more good news happening that and sometimes we're aware of, and that uh, what we want to do, and I know what I want to do, is to get rid of the fear virus. Just keep spreading the good news and get rid of the fear virus. Then last week, I told you some of the stories of the good news, and my favorite quote right now: "I wish I could shut up, but I can't, and I won't," by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It's my and my the synopsis of that talk was, that's what I wish for all of us, that we can not shut up and be who we are, because we are a gift to the world. So, and today I want to talk about the wave of grace, ride the surge. So the first thing you need to do is envision a wave. I personally have never surfed on a surfboard, but I have surfed in the ocean, body surfed. And anybody here body surfed or surfed? You remember any feel, that feeling? Okay. So, but you've all seen pictures of those big, beautiful waves, right? That like are, I don't know, 20 or 30 feet high. And you see people riding, they're not on top of the wave. They're at a certain part of the wave where the wave curls over them, and you see them, and you've seen the movies, and it looks so amazing. So just think about that visual when I'm talking about the wave of grace. So for today. Now, thinking about the wave of grace, the actual physical, to get this metaphor going, the thing about it is, where do you catch the wave? Where are you going to catch it? Where are you going to ride it? What does it take if you're the surfer, and we're all magically good at surfing now? What does it take to know to stand up? What does it take to catch the wave? So, as we're thinking about that, I want to explore a little bit of the concept of grace in Buddhism. Now, I am not a Buddhist teacher, and I am not a Buddhist expert, but I have many favorite Buddhist teachers that I read and listen to. And one of my favorite Buddhist teachers is Pema Chodron. So Pema Chodron has a little bit I want to read to you about a Buddhist teaching called bodhicitta, which I have spoken about before. Bodhicitta is a concept that people who study Buddhism study and study. It's not going to, you're not going to get it in a sentence or a paragraph. But the idea of it is a beautiful one. And I think it's quite similar to, it has very close similarities to the Christianity's belief in grace, and certainly Unity's belief in grace, or Unity people believing in grace. The word chitta means mind and also heart or attitude. Bodhi means awake, enlightened, or completely open. Sometimes the completely open heart and mind of bodhicitta is called the soft spot, a place as vulnerable and tender as an open wound. It is equated in part with our ability to love. So Pema Chodron's teacher, whose name is Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, says, even the cruelest people have the soft spot, the open wound, or the part where we melt. Even the most vicious animals love their offspring. Everybody loves something, even if it is only tortillas. So it is part of us, every single being. The Buddha said that we are never separated from enlightenment, even at the times we feel most stuck. Now, that's good news to remember, because I don't know about you, but I personally feel stuck more than 5 times a day. I really do. I'm a little bit reactive. So if I am not on the top of the wave surfing, I'm like, oh, what's wrong? So isn't it a lovely lesson to know that we are never alienated from the awakened state? Pema says this is a revolutionary assertion. Even ordinary people like us with hang-ups and confusion have this mind of enlightenment called bodhicitta. The openness and warmth of bodhicitta is in fact our true nature and condition. Even when our neuroses feels far more basic than our wisdom, even when we're feeling most confused and hopeless, bodhicitta, like the open sky, is always here, undiminished by the clouds that temporarily cover it. Given that we are so familiar with the clouds, right? Who does not relate to this? We are so familiar with the clouds, we may find that we don't believe the Buddha, right? Like, I don't believe that I'm always enlightened. I can point to a moment just yesterday when I did not act with enlightenment. Yet the truth is, in the midst of our suffering, in the hardest of times, we can always contact the noble heart of bodhicitta. It is always available in pain as well as in joy. So that is a key phrase. I'm going to say it again. The truth is that in the midst of our suffering, in the hardest of times, we can contact this noble heart. It is always available in pain as well as in joy. Now, last week we watched, after the service, some of us watched the movie Grief Walker, which was a movie that Melissa is going to lead a book study about. You can get in on that later on, and we probably will show that movie again too. But the movie was very moving. There was one part I want to talk about. The movie follows Stephen, and I forget his last name, who is a grief therapist basically, and this was a movie that's covered like 9 or 10 years. It's not like and of his experiences. So his job or his mission, his gift, is to be with people and their families when they know they're going to die, or maybe after somebody's died, and he's with them. So he's walking you through and with the grief, okay? Which is really something that a lot of the movie was about, how in our Western culture, it is not part of what we learn anymore, I'm sure it maybe definitely 100 years ago when people died at home, you knew what happened because you were around it. And truly, we do not have that now so much. Though there's many people, many movements of people who are who want to teach us how to do it differently, right? How to learn to deal with death, because everybody is gonna get to die. I'm happy to tell you. It's not like you didn't know that, right? Everybody's going to get to die. And probably by now everybody's experienced some loss around a death. Now, I'm a parent. Many of you are parents. At least all of you are children. So there's something about the death of a child that feels like it kind of wrings your heart. So in this movie, there was a scene that I want to talk about, and in relating to grace, the fact that the open sky is always there. So there's two parents, and a little daughter who had some kind of cancer, and she was dying. And in the movie, they're visited by showing that basically sometimes this can happen. You just keep the person alive. So here's this tiny little girl who's being kept alive. And then Stephen comes in, and he basically talks to them and says, I think that every time she gets a transfusion, which just keeps her alive to the next transfusion, she is diminished. It's suffering. It's taking it It's taking life away from her instead of giving life to her. And those are my words, not his exact words. But that was a very moving scene. Of course, not just because who it it touches my soft spot. It touches my open wound of loving and caring for the people in my life and the people I know, and that that in that how could this terrible thing, the death of a child, have any goodness in it? How can it be grace? Well, we know there's grace in everything. Now, I have my own little story, which is not at all dramatic. Um, it's just about when I got this hand surgery. So if there's any drama, it's in that Roland had to put up with me complaining. Right, that would be the drama. But the thing about it is that I want to stress is not how I overcame anything, but how everything that happens to us, seriously, everything that happens to us, we get to use it. So I had hand surgery, and the funny thing that happened was I had a block. So Monday, I didn't feel a thing. And so it was just, in and out day surgery. And I go home Monday and I have no pain. Okay, that's what I want to stress. I have no pain. But for some reason, I am an emotional wreck. And for some reason, I just am falling apart. And I expected, I had wanted to talk to my sister who wasn't available. I wanted to talk to my friend in Seattle who wasn't available. And so you might guess who I talked to. That'd be the guy in the room with me. That'd be Roland. And I'm pretty sure he did not know what to do because I think also the sedation makes you a little bit crazy. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say that when you have sedation, you can be a little crazy because I wasn't really right I definitely was not in my right mind, in my true self, my holy self, whatever. That person was not anywhere in my head or my body. And the the interesting thing to me is that I like every day I learned a little bit more about that. Like I learned a little bit more about um, what I wanted. Like I had built up in my head that, oh, I'm going to have the surgery, I'm going to rest, and this is my time to cash in on emotional support. Like I just had this weird bargain in my head set up like, well, I listen to my sister, so I'm going to call her and it's going to be her turn to listen to me. I listen to my friend, I'm going to call her, it's going to be her turn to listen to me. I've sat with a few surgeries with Roland, it's going to be his turn to, give me everything I want and go there and all that stuff. And of course, when you make a bargain and you haven't actually made a bargain, it's just your head, like, well, this is how I think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I made a bargain with nobody. I set myself up. And the beautiful part was the learning about that, the recognition, and eventually the clarity. I, of course, did find people to listen to me. I have a lot of people. I have people who listen to me, and I have people who will listen to me exactly how I want them to listen to me, to give me straight up nonviolent communication, empathy, using all the right words. I have people who are listening to me who will just be with me. I have plenty of people who listen to me, and I found my way to them, and they listened to me. And that's why I was able to have some of the insights about, oh, I was making a bargain, and I wanted that to happen. And what I want to say is I'm actually delighted with falling apart on Monday and feeling miserable because because I got to that open-hearted place. There's a place of surrender when things happen to you. It's true. When something dramatic happens, any loss, we're sick, we're ill, somebody we love dies. These are big, huge things, but place us they get us in touch with our openness, that wound, the bodhicitta part of us that it's we can't put a shell up anymore, right? We cannot cover up our heart. We cannot not be present. The circumstances, your child that is dying of cancer, you're not gonna be able to do anything but surrender. We're going to need to surrender. We cannot keep, our heart will be exposed. And that is when the grace comes in. Because we are not alone. We are never alone. When we get to that point and we surrender, that's when we feel the open sky. That's when we feel the spiritual support. That's when we feel our true self, our upline. That is when we know God. That is when we know enlightenment, because we've just had everything taken away. I think that it's probably very hard to keep an open heart. It's almost easier to be open-hearted when it's your suffering than when it's somebody you love. It's harder to do that. And it's also hard when you're watching your loved ones, like kids do this a lot. They do stuff and you watch them struggling, or your relatives, and you know exactly what they should do. You would be the best coach. That's not your job. It's not our job. Instead, we just need to have an open heart and be with them. Now, I want to read a little bit, which is similar to me, from the Book of Truth by Paul Selig, which is just a non-Buddhist way of saying the same thing that Pema Chodron just said. So, grace is about releasing fear. I'm saying that, and here's from the book. Fear has been held as the body, part of your body. You hold fear in your body. The memory of fear that the cells in the body hold must be released to the higher octave or higher vibration. We want to release the fear so that we can get to the love, the unconditional love. How is this done? In alignment and in grace. The word grace is very important here. You do not do it as yourself. Okay, this is what I want to go over. The word grace is very important here. You do not do it as yourself. And in this teaching, he says, this is like a one-word prayer affirmation. I know who I am in truth, what I am in truth, how I serve in truth. I am here, I am here, I am here. So when you say that, or any prayer, this is what calls the vibration to assist you in this release, in this surrender. You say what you say, the prayer for protection. Sometimes I still go to the Hail Mary because I memorize that and I know it. Whatever the prayer is, prayer for protection, Hail Mary, this, I know who I am in truth, whatever it is, you're making an intention to call help and support for your release. And then this part I just love so much because it sounds so sweet. It's written right in the book. Understand, dears, that if you still experience fear, you are not doing this wrong. You are having an encounter to support you in the release of the lie that would inhibit your expression. Do you understand this? You are not doing it wrong. So begin to say thank you to all of your experiences, all of them, high and low and in between, because the gift of them is the true self and her authority reclaiming purview. Okay? So learn to say thank you to all of them. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like the clouds that Pema Chodron was talking about? Does that sound like the non-duality, like we take everything and learn from it? It does. It sounds familiar to me. Now let's go back to the visual. Okay. Think of the surfer surfing the wave. Now, I have another picture besides just the lone surfer on the wave. And when I was anytime I've watched surfers on the beach, actually watch them, there's a whole bunch of them. They're on their boards and they're out there, and mostly they're not surfing. Mostly they're waiting. They're on the boards waiting. So here's the thing I know about catching the wave. the wave has to come to the surfer. You can meet it, you go out to meet it, but you can't make an appointment for it. You cannot make an appointment for it. You can't make it happen. You know, you can say the wave is going to get me now. I know that from body surfing. You know, I've never been on a board, but you know, you think that wave is coming, I'm going to get it. Maybe not. So you cannot make it happen. You cannot say, I'm going to catch it. You have to hang out where you can catch it. And you have to let go when you do catch it. Like when you catch the wave, you just sort of go all, you know, you abandon your control case at every level and you jump out on your surfboard or your body surfing, you just jump out in your swimsuit and you let go. And it catches you or it doesn't. And sometimes when you catch it, you know, it also does that thing where sand ends up everywhere. It's just part of the fun. So here is the good news about grace. Like we all got the metaphor of the grace, but think about this, that everybody here, we get to figure out how or what we're going to catch. You know, we figure out what is the wave of grace for us, how we're going to surrender and let it take us and support us. And here is the beautiful part, just in case you didn't get this. There will always be another wave. And there will always be another chance to release fear. There will always be another person who is annoying you. There will always be another terrible thing in your family that rips your heart open. That is the wave of grace. There will always be another chance to open your heart, to be grateful for another opportunity to choose love. So let's take an offering for unity. I invite y'all to just take this time, get a donation. And if you donate online or a credit card, just put a blessing in the basket. And let's say this affirmation together.